Welcome to What is Going for new thought from the edge of Each week on OMTimes flagship radio show, veteran broadcaster, author, and media consultant Sandie Sedgbeer conducts thought-provoking interviews with inspirational authors, artists, musicians, scientists, speakers, and filmmakers who are working at the point where spirituality and science meet consciousness at the very edge of Here is your host, Sandie Sedgbeer.
Hello, and welcome to this special Christmas Eve edition of What is Going On. If ever there's a time when music, magic, miracles, love, and transformation are in the air, tonight is it. And what better way to celebrate it than with two very special guests who somehow managed to imbue those 5 elements into their music. So please welcome globally acclaimed energy intuitive, author and transformation teacher Lee Harris, and celebrated Slovenian singer, songwriter, musician, composer and producer Davor Bozic, who will be sharing some stories about their mutual love of music and playing some tracks from their beautiful new album, Awaken. Lee, Davor, welcome.
Hi,
Hello.
Sandie.
It's good to have you both here today. It's such a special day. This is the first time that you two have been interviewed together, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing.
How many interviews have you actually done separately? I mean, Lee, you've probably done thousands, and I'm sure in your capacity, Davor, you've done thousands too. But I mean, as a duo, how often have you been interviewed together?
Well, I've interviewed Davor for our Impact the World podcast this year, and we've also interviewed Davor inside the portal, but we've never been interviewed together, so we're thrilled.
To talk about your album that you created together.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we're remedying that tonight, because of course you've got to talk about it together. So, Awaken was released, just a few weeks ago on November the 20th. And that must have been a really exciting occasion for you both.
Yeah, it kind of felt a little bit like a miracle, because we've been talking about making a new album for years, and it's weird, like even back in March we didn't even know we could make it happen this year. So yeah, we were very happy.
Well, that's one of the little shall we say, silver linings behind the dark cloud of challenges that this year has been made up of, is it gave you the time to actually get together and do this.
Yep, it was within the challenging times, but all these challenges somehow came to our advantage. Also with the videos, because we could get the whole ice rink, which otherwise we wouldn't be able to get for a whole day for filming, and a lot of things, like also for the song All Who Walk the Earth, everybody was at home, so I could get everybody from all around the world in 14 different languages translate and speak the words that Lee spoke on that song, and I basically got everything back within the same day, because everybody was at home, nothing to do in the lockdown, so a lot of things came also to our advantage.
So it sounds like this pandemic then was all your fault, just to give you two guys an opportunity.
Yeah, we planned it completely. Yeah, we were actually supposed to be on tour. We were going to be in Europe bringing music and everything, so basically it worked really well that we managed to record music instead.
Well, yeah, and it must have been really nice too, I mean, going through this awful time, to have this beautiful project to keep you occupied.
Absolutely, and it's funny, I was just saying to Davor this morning, I really miss creating, and we've not been creating music for a few weeks now, but we're just about to start on the sequel to Awaken, so we'll be diving back in.
Sounds really horrible. After a whole year, we're not working on music. 2 weeks. That's really horrible.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah. So I've known Lee a long time. I've only met you recently, Davor, but you guys met 8 years ago. Tell us about that meeting, Davor.
It was in Vienna, 2012. There was a midsummer conference. A lot of channelers were there, people that work in spirituality, and I was invited by Jeffrey Hoppe, who organized it with Crimson Circle, to to be a kind of musical support for whoever wanted this. And I approached Lee. Does he want to have some music underneath his channels? And he said, yes, of course, that would be lovely. And we actually met on the stage. That was our first cooperation, just there, live, first time, no time to talk what we're doing, and it was lovely. There's a recording of it, right, Lee?
Yeah, the recording is called Opening Beyond Fear.
So what attracted you to continue to work with Lee, Davor?
It was actually Lee. How was it, Lee? You'll have to tell that part, because it's lovely when you say it.
Well, it's funny. So Davor, when they asked me if I would like accompaniment from Davor, all I knew at the time was that he was kind of a percussionist, because that's really what he was playing on the stage. So I didn't really know anything about him. But when I went back to my hotel room that night, I had this just massive instinct kind of slam into my third eye, and I was thinking about him, and all of a sudden I heard, you could make an album with this man. And I was like, huh? Like, didn't make any sense, because I didn't know anything about him. Never met him, and didn't really understand the capacity of his musical career. But I knew the instinct was true, and especially when you're at a channeling conference, you pay attention to those instincts no matter how much your mind can't grasp it. So I just thought, oh, what the hell, I'll just go and tell him what I heard and see what he says. And he told me that he had the same feeling. And so we kind of shook hands on it. And I think we started work on an album together about 4 or 5 months later when our schedules allowed. And yeah, then I very quickly asked him if he would edit the channeled material too and bring sound healing. So we started working together quite full on from 2013 onwards.
Davor, I mean, your background isn't at all, the spiritual kind of music. You, as a teenager, you were a massive pop star at home in Slovenia, weren't you? And later on, you had another career as an actor for 17 years in Slovenia's most popular family sitcom. So what was it about this kind of music that drew you? I mean, was that a gradual transition? Was it a surprise, or something that you'd always been attracted to?
It hit me when I was, yes, I've been like a teen pop star and all of that, but then I went to study to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and there I found the book of the Pythagorean writings, and they were talking about music of the spheres and a kind of sound of the universe. And this is where my intuition hit me, and I said, I have to do this. I had no idea what that will sound like, what that will be, but it stuck with me all these years, and I didn't know what to do with it. And now with all these frequencies being possible to record, to tune the instruments and have the equipment in the computers to really tune precisely the sounds, now this is coming to life, and we're using this with Lee all over the channel materials. The audio book, Energy Speaks, is full of that. So this is something that was with me since I was 17, but just sleeping in me. Didn't find a way to put it out. And now for a few years it's coming out, and it's a big part of our music.
And you tuned this album to the 528 hertz solfeggio frequency, which is considered the miracle note and the frequency of love and transformation, 3 of the elements that I mentioned at the beginning. Lee, were you familiar with the solfeggio frequencies before?
I wasn't until Davor started talking to me about it. I mean, I'd heard various things about frequencies of music, but for me, because music had always just been something I felt as a healing frequency, I'd never really studied those kinds of frequencies. So it's interesting, as I was just listening to Davor speak about all of this, when we made our album Arise, which came out in 2014, I think that was the bridge to us creating Awaken, because we were really trying to infuse spiritual lyrics into what would have really been more of a pop album. So in a way, we were taking our music background in pop, both of us, and making an album that was a bit more overtly spiritual. But I think with Awaken, what happened was we started to create these songs literally for participants at our workshops and in the portal every month, the members community we create music and recordings for. So it was probably around 3 or 4 years ago that Davor started getting very serious with all those tunings, and that's really, I think, why Awaken is a bit of a culmination of our journey the last few years.
On your album, you say that music is the inverse language and a healing, uplifting force in our lives. What do you mean by the inverse language?
Oh, I think it's universal. But inverse is kind of cool too. But I think universal is what we have written there. So maybe it got mistranslated in an email or something.
No, I was copying some stuff over from a PDF, so obviously it didn't translate. Right. I was thinking, what's inverse language? Okay, universal, of course, that makes so much sense. So did you, Davor, did you put any other frequencies into this music or just the 528?
No, album Awaken, since it is, let's say, a regular music, I just tuned all the instruments so that each song has a frequency 5 to 8 hertz in there. So in order to get this, you have to tune note A to 444 hertz. So that's the only thing that is done in this album, and everything is then usual, because we have piano. If you put like all these solfeggio frequencies on a piano, it sounds really, really strange. So with singing music, kind of pop music, you cannot do that. You just tune so you have this one frequency. But with the channels that we do, there are these frequencies and they make beautiful harmonies, but they are not played like as a piano, but sounds that hold these frequencies. So is it like a planetary frequency or a body part or a chakra or a gland or a solfeggio? With those, I create very specific harmonies that are just out of this world. But Awaken album, because it is sung, it still has a regular 12-note tonality, but it's just tuned. It's just tuned to the miracle tone.
So is this something that we would be aware of it, or is it just subtle but creates an experience on an unconscious level?
No, the body feels it. The body knows it. This is 5 to 8 is not just a miracle tone. It also is the frequency that repairs DNA and connects DNA with the basic cosmic frequency. So this is our alignment. So the body, when the body hears or is enforced with this frequency, it tunes itself to its normal position, and that's why it feels so natural and balanced. Because we're like, the frequencies all around us are very disharmonious these days. So once you listen to music that is tuned there, your body just tunes itself naturally to where it's supposed to be. That's why this music also feels good as a body sensation.
We're going to listen to a track from the album, and then when we come back after the break, I want to know more about the inspiration for the album and your process. And the track we're going to listen to is called Roads to Forever. So I don't know if you want to say a couple of words about that before we play it, Lee.
It was the last song we wrote for the album, and it was a bit of a surprise. Another song wasn't quite working. We were surprised it wasn't working, but it wasn't. And we were about 2.5 months away from release date. And Davor sent me this song as an instrumental, saying, oh, maybe we put this on as an instrumental. And I'd forgotten to tell him that a year ago when I'd first heard it, I'd heard lyrics and melody for it. So I sang them for him, and we both got the goosebumps. And so I think it was like midnight one night, we ended up writing the song all of a sudden for an hour, and then we worked on it that week, and it was a lovely surprise at the end of the album for us to create that.
Well, let's listen to that song now, Roads to Forever. We're just going to listen to a portion of the song.
In the silence, music I hear deep inside. It's in your smile, love, when you choose to shine. This human game, love, it builds and it breaks. Call my name. I'm right here with you, and I too understand. All roads lead to forever. All roads lead to forever. Walk with me to forever. Go with me to forever. Your love, my love.
The future of internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
Mental health. Most people think it means mental illness. Most people are wrong. Mental health doesn't apply to just some of us. Like physical and emotional health, it applies to all of us. We're all susceptible to anxiety and depression, the human conditions. But for some of us, it doesn't stop there. Cracked, the podcast, strips away the shame, embarrassment, fear and stigma by expanding the mental health conversation into areas less visited, from brain and body chemistry, food, nutrition, trauma and the microbiome, to pharmaceutical drugs, psychedelics, meditation, visionary experiences and spiritual awakenings. Cracked, the podcast, explores them all, including the notion that for many, breakdown can be the beginning of breakthrough. For as singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen wrote, there is a crack in everything. It's where the light gets in. Cracked, the podcast, slaying the dragons of mental health. Join the conversation with me, Sandie Sedgbeer, and my co-host, Rebecca Shaper, on the first and third Thursday of every month at 12 noon Eastern Time.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Welcome back, Lee Harris and Davor Bozic. Now, this album, Awaken, not Awakening, where did it actually begin? What was the initial inspiration for it, and how did you start with it?
Well, I think what made it become an actual album was the song Inside Love. Davor and I create an audio recording for our members community every month. And, you know, those recordings are also available at the store, on my website for people who aren't members. And we had been creating music for the channels that we've been recording, or the monthly messages. And Inside Love was made about a year and a half ago. And I think near the end of last year, Davor and I had played it live a lot at one of our retreats, and we said, we should just release this as a single. Let's produce it. Let's just put a single out. There's no pressure. We don't have to try and come up with a whole album. We don't know how we'd find the time. And as soon as we embarked on putting that out as a single, we suddenly realized that given we were creating music most months, if we then just spent extra time, more money, and, you know, had it properly mastered, we would be able to make an album. So that was kind of it, and that's really where it came from. But the inspiration for the actual songs really comes from our community, and pretty much most of the songs on the album are written with our community and what they're going through in mind.
So your community and the events that you have when your community comes together are actually what is providing the source material for this. So you're expressing what they're feeling.
Yeah, that's kind of why we feel the album really is for them. And as Davor can attest, often what we've done is we've written songs in workshop rooms and then performed them live an hour after we've written them, because we embody in that song what was going on in the room that day. And Davor, I don't know if you have anything to add there.
Yeah, it usually, those songs happened on the break. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like almost like an hour before we would perform them live for the first time. And then we went through all these years of these songs that we did in Berlin, Oslo, Portland, and all these places. And we took the best out and felt which could be produced as proper songs. And this is what Awaken is, and its sequel Timelines will be in a year. All the compilation of the best of our songs in these years with our audience live.
So that's an interesting process. So you get together in a break, you kind of talk about some of the themes that have arisen, and then suddenly you start getting inspired to put words down. I assume the words come first, yes?
No, actually, for me, words are never the way I start, but the words for me are usually twinned with the music. So when I hear a song, if I'm not co-writing with Davor, I will hear, for example, something like Inside Love. Well, actually, that was in response to Davor's keyboard part, but no, words are never the start point for me. Words are what have to be crafted to fit the melody if they don't come immediately intuitively. So Davor and I will often look at the words together. You know, we'll get the chorus, we'll get a verse, and then we'll have some missing pieces. So we'll sit and we'll play around, talk about what's going on in the room. Yeah,
a lot of times it happens like in the room when Lee is speaking or working with somebody. I put music underneath, and beautiful things come up, like beautiful harmonies or piano patterns or something. And then when there is a break, I usually bring this out, play it a little bit, and Lee then immediately connects, starts to sing the melody, the lyrics, and then we go back and forth. Maybe we do a chord change because I see where the melody is going and I feel maybe we should go there, and then Lee comes with me. So it's basically almost happening sometimes almost like real time, But yeah, it's back and forth. Like I would inspire Lee, he would inspire me when I hear him sing a melody, and I feel where it could go with the harmony. And so this goes back and forth, and then we just cultivate the song. It's not that this is then just it, but then we start cultivating. Sometimes it's really fast. Sometimes we could spend a lot of times with one word.
I was going to say, is it difficult to come up with the words?
You know when it's difficult is when you've got most of the words and the song is good. Then you're in trouble because it's like that you're like, oh God, if we can't now bring the bridge into the same frequency and level of power as the verse and the chorus, we're in trouble. So those are kind of the moments that you have to work and be open. And we have had some songs that we've had unfinished for like a year that we suddenly managed to finish. So, yeah, it's a little different with every song.
Some musicians say that, they just wake up with a song in their head, words or music, sometimes both, completely, there, as if somebody's just dropped it in. Has that ever happened to you?
That is how it happens for me, because unlike Davor, I'm not really a great instrumentalist. So even though I can use piano and guitar to get the chord structure down enough to take it to, say, Davor, who will then flesh out the arrangement, for me, that's how it has to happen. Like it literally is like a bubble above my head where a song exists. But sometimes, like when I work with Davor, or if I go to the piano and I start playing with some chords, then the music and the words start to come through, yeah.
Are you singing on these albums, Davor?
I do sing some backing vocals that are like harmonizing Lee, but there are also a few parts where I have my own melody doing a contrapunct with Lee's chorus or something. So that was lovely. This is what we came up on this album in I think 2 or 3 songs, and it's really cool.
I love it when he sings, and I love it when he... Because the one thing I encouraged him with a few years ago was I heard him play piano, and I was like, oh my God, Davor, you play piano so well. And he was like, really? I don't... And so on this album, he's not only singing more, but he's also... We've let his piano arrangements be more of a focus than perhaps what we did on Arise in 2014.
Yeah, how many instruments do you... Sorry, what did you say, Davor?
No, it was more synthesizers. I was more afraid of playing like a piano. I didn't think I could do something with a piano. But then in Costa Rica, especially because we just had a piano, I just started to play. I had to do everything on a piano, and I did great, and Lee loved it. So that encouraged me to maybe have a piano also as a piano, not a synthesizer or keyboard, but a piano as a part of arrangement, and I'm glad for that, because, yeah, actually I can play very well and beautifully.
He's amazing, Sandie, in answer to your question. Like, we'll be with Davor, and suddenly there's this instrument in the room, and he's like, oh, I've never played ukulele. And then an hour later, he will be playing ukulele, backing one of our songs. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch.
Oh, unnatural, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible talent to have. I'm very envious of people who can play one instrument, let alone several of them. But you do so much, Davor. I mean, you're a singer, you're a songwriter, you're a musician, a composer, a producer, an arranger. There's no end to it.
Why there should be,
Well,
we're evolving.
Well, exactly. Why should there be?
Yeah, this year I bought myself a bass guitar and guitars, and I started to record guitars on our music also. I've never played them before, but my guitarist was away on the holidays, and I had to finish. It was our transmission project in August, and I went and borrowed the guitar and amplifier, and I just started to play, and it took me some time to figure it out, but then when I did, I so enjoyed it that I said I have to have this. So now guitar is also a new element that I put into our music on my own also. When it's more complicated, I bring in professional guitarists, but for simple things that just need to be lovely, I'm doing it now.
Lee, you and I had a conversation in another interview about your original ambitions were to be a musician, to be a singer, and then you moved away from that. So you've kind of come full circle. It must be really rewarding and satisfying for you to be releasing this album.
It's funny you say that, because just yesterday we were watching a music documentary on Dolly Parton, who is just a phenomenon. And I was watching the documentary and I realized I didn't have any pang of regret while I was watching it, because we've just released Awaken. Whereas a year and a half ago, I was watching a Coldplay documentary on a plane home from England. We'd just done a sold-out event in London. I mean, it was, very quote-unquote successful. And I was on the plane on the way home, and I was watching this documentary going, oh, I'm supposed to do more music. And then I was having an argument in my head going, but you're very successful in what you do, and, da-da-da. But it didn't matter. I channeled for myself, and I asked the question, why am I feeling this as I'm watching this documentary? And they said, because without music, your soul will crumble. And I was like, oh, my God. And it was like, it hit me between the eyes. So I think we landed the plane, and I said to Davor, hey, I think we need to try and release this music more outside the community. And that's what we've been doing, like the last 16 months. So, yeah, I feel incredibly fulfilled, because I feel like it was a part of me that was kind of suppressed. And I think for Davor too, it's the same for him. It's like we both have had this dream of being able to give people music. We just couldn't figure out how to do it. And because it's expensive to produce and it takes time, it's like we just reached this point where now we can do it in the way we want to do it. So I think we're both thrilled.
Well, it's lovely to hear that, because I think that we have been conditioned to believe you do one thing and you do it well, and that's it. And all those other parts of you that make up, the whole don't get a chance, to have their day. But nowadays, I think it's becoming more and more acceptable. We can do it all.
But in a way, we do one thing and we do it well, and it's called expressing. And you express yourself through music, through channeling, through speaking, through dancing, through filming, but it's all expressing. It's just different ways of expressing yourself. So I don't think it's so strange at the end,
Yeah. Well, and it's such a shame that, more children don't get that opportunity to express themselves through music. So many schools are not teaching it anymore. And that's often where the passion starts.
Yeah, I think that... Go ahead, Davor.
No, I just wanted to say it's one thing to be taught, and there's another way when you express yourself. For instance, that I saw with my guitar. I know it doesn't mean much, but when I took a guitar into my hands, I'm not playing as a guitarist because I have no education as a guitarist, but I get all the strings, I get all the effects now that I bought for the guitar, and the way I'm playing is what I hear, what comes out of me, and then I figure out a way how to make it sound well. So it's a different approach. It comes from me rather than somebody that is a schooled musician. They will of course do things that I will never be able to do, but they are thought, and when I play, it comes from me. It comes from inside, and then I have to figure it out how to do it on an instrument, and that's why maybe it sounds a bit different. If it makes sense what I'm saying.
For some of us, if we don't get, an instrument put into our hands when we're young, we never even get the opportunity to express ourselves in that manner.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Sandie, but growing up in Britain, I remember that very rarely did I meet creativity teachers where grading or performance wasn't a part of it. You know, it's like, well, if you can get to grade 1, then you can take piano next year. There was always a kind of accomplishment around it. And I feel for kids who don't get to experience just the joy of playing, like Davor said, without passing a grade or, it's like all of us dance and sing. It doesn't mean all of us will be professional dancers or singers necessarily, But it's really important for us to do those things.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we can see it in babies, can't we? I mean, put something in their hands and the first thing they do is start banging it, to make a rhythm. There is a song on this album that makes a lot of people cry, and it is Live Another Day, and it is a song which is about your father, or dedicated to your father, whom you lost earlier this year, Lee. Tell us a little bit about that before we play it.
So last summer we came back from the UK. We would always go a couple of times a year, me and my husband Stephen, and we'd been with family, and we knew that Dad was going for a cancer test. And when we got back to the US, my dad had ill health for many years in various different ways. We found out that it was positive and that he had bowel cancer. So the song was written. I went to my piano in my house in America as a way of having a conversation with him, his soul, and just asking him how he was doing. It was difficult to speak to Dad in certain ways. So I think this was my way of having a conversation, of trying to understand what he was going through and what he was feeling. And he had an operation. It was successful, but it kind of zapped all the life out of him. And then 5 months later, he was taken into hospital after a fall where he got COVID and he died. And he was in hospital by himself because no one was allowed in for about 4.5 weeks. So it was a very traumatic time for my family and, of course, especially my mom. And so I think it was a day after he died, or 2 days after he died, that Davor and I finished that song with the intent that it could be played at his funeral because I couldn't be there. Again, COVID restrictions. So, yeah, that was how it happened. And at the time, we weren't thinking about the album. And in my head, I was like, well, this is very different to what we've been doing. But it ended up being very clear that the song really was to help people process grief. And it's both about being at the end of your life, but also when you've passed. I think both elements are in the song. And Davor just did the most amazing ending for the song, because I hadn't finished writing the ending, and Davor came up with the ending. And we were recording that the week after my dad died. So I think it's all encoded into that song, and I think that's why people feel it.
It must be such a bittersweet experience for you to hear it.
You know, I don't cry very often, and when I hear that song, even now, having heard it so many times when we were mixing it, it still can make me cry, which is rare. So I know that so much of my own emotion is locked into the song, but, we're all one collective group here on the earth, and I think all of us are having different experiences with grief and loss in a new way this year. So, yeah.
Well, let's listen to it now, and if it makes you cry, Lee, then at least you've got the break to compose yourself. So, to live another day.
What are you seeing deep in those eyes? Are you baiting for the time? I know you're tired, darling. I would be too. It hurts to see this pain in you. So live another day like it's your loss. Embrace the golden ashes of your past and begin to see the wonder all around. In this life that you were born for on the
cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hello, I'm Sandie Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes' flagship radio show, What Is Going On? As a long-time editor, book judge, spiritual magazine publisher and radio host, I've read thousands of books and interviewed hundreds of authors and teachers. So I know what's worth reading and what isn't. Now, with the spiritual book market growing increasingly crowded, more and more people are seeking my help in finding the authentic voices, the empowering tools, and the genuine skip the BS guidance that will make the most difference to their spiritual development. So I decided to make it easier by bringing my knowledge, experience, and considerable network of contacts together in the No BS Spiritual Book Club. There are no ads, no joining fees, no obligations, and no BS. Just an ever-growing library compiled by recognisable and respected names of the 10 best books that help them the most on their journeys. Plus free book excerpts, audios and live video interviews where you can quiz them about their spiritual journeys and their 10 best list choices. Your time and money are valuable, your spiritual journey even more so. If you're looking for genuine guidance from people who've walked this path before you, check out sedgbeer.com. Click on the No BS Spiritual Book Club tab and join the club. That's sedgbeer.com, SEDGBEER.com. I'll see you there.
I'm Fidel Nshombo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom! Everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Lee Harris, Davor Bozic. You create the most amazing videos. You don't just do a video for the album, you do a video for every song, don't you?
Well, that's really Davor. For this album, that's really Davor and his team.
Yeah, we are doing 5 videos of the 8 songs. We're just filming on Sunday, which is, in 2 days we're filming the last part for To Live Another Day video, which will come out somewhere late January probably, if all is well. So I think this will be a very beautiful video. I think this will be the climax. The song is special, the video will be special. I think this is where we are building this album, and this could be the climax of it. This is how I feel.
Davor, what was your favourite track?
Oh, it's really hard to say because it changes, it changes when I listen now, when it's done. Usually when we finish a new song, it's that one, which should be. Otherwise, you didn't do well. But I think Awaken is still my song of the album. Somehow I love the trumpets. They really are beautiful. The arrangement as is, and Lee singing it, it's just beautiful. So I think this song for me in this album is a little bit special.
What about you, Lee?
I guess I'm similar to Davor in that often it's the one that you're working on. I think Awaken is an unusual album for me because I normally have not liked my albums when I release them as a whole. Like there's always something that I'm bothered about or wish we'd had more time. This was the first album where that wasn't the case. So that's a revelation in itself, that I can happily, joyously listen to any of it and feel proud. But I think probably because of the connection to my dad, To Live Another Day is the one that is most emotionally in my body. But like Davor, you know, I can find myself in all of them.
I bet your mum likes To Live Another Day.
You know, I don't know, because she was very moved by it. But of course, for her, it provokes a grief release. So, you know, my family were incredibly happy to have that song at the funeral. And in fact, I didn't suggest it for the funeral. They did. I haven't spoken to Mom about the song since the album's come out, but I know she really loved the album. And I'll be curious to see how it is for her when the video comes out, because we've actually chosen to tell the story. It's actually an actress in the lead role. But still, we've kind of chosen to really tell the story of what the song is about through the video. So I'll be curious to see how that is for her. And for all of my family, actually.
Now, you know, the interesting thing listening to your story is you wanted to be a singer, you wanted to be a musician, but now you've moved back into that part of your being. It's at a point in time where you already have a fabulous audience, big worldwide audience. You already have everything you need. You don't have to rely on the music industry. You can do it all yourself. So you've got complete control, and you can just run the whole thing. That must be, you know, it's a bit like, well, there's the reason for not getting it the first time.
That's so true. It does feel a bit like a miracle. And I remember when Davor and I were working on Arise, we worked really hard on that album for a year. And we were doing it all on our own backs. You know, we didn't have such a big audience 7 years ago. So this year, to be able to have financially funded and supported the album and do it ourselves. And, you know, for Davor to say, hey, can we get an extra $1,000 for this video because we want to bring 2 more crew members, and for me to just be able to say yes, you know, that feels like a miracle. So I love the joy that not just Davor and I, but all of the creatives who've worked on this project have felt, because everybody's paid, and you know, that's how people make their living and survive. So it is amazing. It does feel incredible, and we're excited about the future.
As if that was meant to happen. Are you already working on the next one?
Yes, we are. We are. Actually, the album Awaken wasn't even released yet, and I was already recording some guitars for the new album and some other stuff. So yeah, it's in progress, and it will have a similar vibe, even though it will be different, of course. But those two are kind of like twins. They will share. They will share. It's almost like one album is one side of vinyl, and the second album is the other side. So yeah, I think we've figured out a feeling through these songs that were created throughout these few last years, and we don't want to just let it go. We wanna give all these songs its own space, and then we're talking after that album, we are moving into a different expression through music.
Lee, you did a brilliant little PR thing for your for the release of this album. You created 40 personal, intuitive messages for the first 40 people who placed an order. I mean, I bet that went down really well.
Well, actually, the system made a mistake, and it ended up being 53 because the system, we just weren't expecting them to disappear so quickly. I think they were gone within like 2 hours. So, yeah, I'm writing intuitive messages on the vinyl, and we've already had a whole load of people asking if I'll do more. So I've said I need to get on with these first and see how long they take. But yeah, we'll have the vinyl release ready. It will be ready on January the 20th. And so my hope and plan is that if I can get the first bunch done quickly in the next few weeks, then I'll release some more of those.
You could have 2 tiers, couldn't you? You know, if you want the deluxe edition, you get a personal message.
Well, yeah, I am signing all of the vinyl. So anybody who buys a vinyl edition, I'm autographing all of those because they'll be here in America. Otherwise, Davor would autograph them with me. But I'll be here in the States and we'll be shipping them from here. So that's kind of the tier 1. And we do have some beautiful CDs as well that have all the artwork and the booklet. And for those people who like the physical like we do.
Yeah, but we'll be in May in Costa Rica, both of us, and we can sign there both.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So every month you both create a brand new MP3 for the portal, and it's a channeled message, and you've said that Davor soundtracks it, and then you create a song that suits the channel. Tell me a little bit about the portal. What is it?
Well, the portal is something that I launched in 2013, actually not too long after I met Davor. And it was because, I put a lot of free content out, and that's really important to me. But there's always a limit to how deep or how far you can go on a YouTube video or something that, 300,000 people are seeing. So I wanted to have a space and a forum where people who wanted to really take a transformational journey with me, the Z's, my team, and what we produce, that they would have a place where they could come as a community, and we give them various tools every month. So there's the recording from me and Davor, there's a 90-minute broadcast with me where I answer questions and also channel the Z's. Stephen delivers exclusive Qigong into the portal community, and also an audio meditation, which Davor also soundtracks every month. And so really the portal is a spiritual resource and a community, but it's also a place you can go deep with what we do here. And we're in our 7th year now, and we've got over 3,000 members, which blows my mind.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, we are fast approaching the end of the show, which is I can't believe it's gone so quick. We do want to play another track. The title track, Awaken. So we're going to play that now, and then we're just going to come back and have a few last words before we end the show. So let's listen to Awaken.
If you listen really close, the future calls you. If you let go of the rope, life will surprise you. There's a fire in your heart, so love it lightly, let it burn into your mind, then you will be free. You've been riding the fall from grace. You're forgetting the stars from whence we came. Awaken to all is everything. You're in everyone. Awaken to all. We are everything, and everywhere is home.
Very bluesy and jazzy. I love that one. We really don't have a lot of time. Is there any last words that you two would like to leave our audience with?
That last year in Costa Rica, I told Lee that I'm so happy that I found my voice in him as a singer. And he was surprised, like, I don't know why. But it's so beautiful when you are a producer, an arranger, to find your voice in another person, as the voice you hear in the music. And this is what Lee means to me, apart from like being a really good friend, and I love him dearly. But I have found my voice, so that's beautiful.
Ah, that's beautiful. What a great compliment. Lee, any last parting words?
Same. I just, so grateful for Davor and I and finding each other 8 years ago. And also, I think one of the things, if I just step back and look at what we do, is how it's evolved for us. So maybe for any creators or creatives that are listening, just, stay with what you're doing, because it just keeps evolving and getting richer. And we hope that you enjoy our album.
Lee Harris, Davor Bozic, thank you. You've been listening to tracks from Lee and Davor's latest album, Awaken. You can find out more at awakenalbum.com and leeharrisenergy.com. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer. I'll be back with another edition of What Is Going On at the same time next week. Till then, have a very Merry Christmas, everyone, and a safe, happy, healthy 2021.